Welcome to Todd Talks, where I help you design your best life, not the life I designed for you, but the life you desire. Today, I have with me Dr. Denise Moore Revel, CEO, founder, and award-winning best-selling author. She founded the Own Your Amazing movement in order to help people find their own voice. So welcome to the show, Denise, or Dr. Revel, how do you prefer to be called?
Okay, so my name is Dr. Denise Moore Revel.
I apologize.
That's okay.
My hand, I need to work on my handwriting apparently.
That's okay. And so I go by Dr. Denise. So you can just call me Dr. Denise during the interview, but thank you so much for having me today.
Well, Dr. Denise, if you wouldn't mind telling a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your story, how you got to where you are. That would
Absolutely.
be great.
So I like to always start off by saying I am a urban belle. I know some people may have heard of Southern Belle, like what's an urban belle? Well, I was born in an urban city. I was born in Washington, D.C., but I was raised in a very small town in North Carolina. So I said my roots are Southern. You know, I love sweet tea.
What if I might ask, what town were you raised in North Carolina?
It's called Selma, North Carolina, not Selma, Alabama. Selma, North Carolina.
Okay, yeah, I've heard of it. I lived for 6 years in Sanford, and my last guest was actually from Fayetteville. So
you're kidding.
It's a small world.
Yes. Oh my God. So yeah, I was raised, like I said, I was born in Washington, D.C. And a few months after I was born, my family, we bought a house in Selma, North Carolina. So I was raised there until I went off to college. You know, my family is still there. My parents are there, siblings. Hopefully in the next couple of years, I'm going to move back. I've been in the Washington, D.C. area since 1993.
I'm sorry. So, I mean, that's great.
Our nation's capital is amazing. Yeah.
I know. I've been there 6 times in the last year for work. So.
Oh yeah. But it's a beautiful area. But I came for college. I came to go here for graduate school, and so I stayed ever since. So, in terms of my career and background, I'm a speech language pathologist or speech therapist. Okay. And so I've been doing it for over 27 years now. And wow. So I have a private practice. I work primarily with school-aged children, you know. And so I tell people I really help people to find their voices, you know, literally. And
that's awesome.
About 5 years ago, I started the Own Your Amazing movement, which is an extension of me helping women to find their voices too, and to live their worth out loud.
Well, and I am completely on board with that. I think that women need to find their voice. They need to recognize that they are equals with their husbands, with their families, while we live in a somewhat masculine dominated society, women are not less than men, so they should be treated as equals. And so I love the idea, love the movement. And so how did you decide to start this movement? What brought it on, brought the change from I'm working with kids and people to work on their speech pathology, and now I'm going to help women find their voice? How did you decide to do that?
So the story is I was working on myself. Even though I had what people would consider levels of success, I wasn't happy. I wasn't fulfilled. I was feeling like there was something missing in my life. Mm-hmm. And so I started reading self-help books. I started attending conferences and retreats.
That'll do it to you.
Yeah. And so about 6 years ago, I went to a retreat in Dallas, Texas. And I arrived on that Friday. So I went out to dinner with one of the attendees just to get to know one another. And so the next day was the actual retreat, the conference, right? And so the facilitator was having each person to come to the front of the room so they can get coaching. And it goes that every time someone sat down in the chair, they started crying. And I'm sitting in the audience like, what is going on with them? Why are they crying? You know, like whatever, right? So it's finally my turn. As soon as I sat down in the chair, I started crying. And so the facilitator, the coach, she's like, Dr. Denise, what's going on with you? And I was like, I don't know. I was like, I just feel like something is missing in my life. And so the young lady who I gone out to dinner with the night before, she raised her hand. And she said, I know what's going on with you. But in my mind, I'm thinking like, you don't know me. We just met. I've been on this journey for years. I don't know what's going on with me. How are you going to tell me what's going on with me? So that was what was going on in my head, but I dare not say that aloud, right? I just looked at her and said, okay, what's wrong with me? She was like, I met you last night. She was like, you're smart, you're brilliant, you're talented. She said, you're all these things. She said, but you don't own it. She said, you need to own your amazing and stop playing small. I was like, that's it.
That's
That
awesome.
is it. People in the room started crying, literally. The other people like, I just got chill bumps. She helped me to language what I had been feeling.
That's awesome.
I knew there was so much more for me in life. I knew that I was not living my best life. I knew I was still allowing fear to stop me. Even though I had been successful, I knew there were times where I didn't go after things I knew I wanted to do. I was still struggling with, am I smart enough? And I had a PhD. I was still struggling with, am I good enough? Even though, again, I had semblance of success. And see, when I discovered that a lot of us feel that way. We look good on paper. We have the corner office. We have these amazing families. But on the inside, we're still wondering, am I pretty enough? Am I smart enough? Am I handsome enough? Am I enough? And so she was telling me, like, you are enough and you need to own it. So that's how the movement got started. Since that day, I have been on a mission to encourage, to help people, to support women and some men to own your amazing. Own who you are, the good, the bad, and the amazing.
That is awesome. You just vocalized some of the things that I think most people are feeling.
Yes.
I know myself, even though I am very confident, I do a dozen different things. I'm a diplomat. I do all sorts of things that I have improved in my life.
Right.
And yet there are times that I'm like, am I good enough to do what I'm doing? Of course, then the other side, the confident side says, of course. Meanwhile, you've got the devil on this shoulder going, no, you're not. No, you're not. And it's learning how to flick that little devil off. That's the key. So that's awesome. I love what you're doing. So how do you go about helping somebody? What are the steps that you use to help someone to own their voice, to own their amazing?
The first thing I do is I ask them, well, who are you? For you. That's different with that. Well, who are you? Oh, I'm a wife. I'm a mother. I'm a boss. I'm a husband. No, who are you for you? How are you defining you? And the reason why I asked that question is because for so long, we've been taught and programmed to define ourselves by what other people say about us and who we are. And so when I tell you that is the most difficult question for a lot of people to answer. Who am I for me? And so I grew up in an era where children were told to be seen but not heard. So that messaging lets a lot of us think that I don't have a voice.
Oh yeah.
I don't have a say, right? I can't
be
heard.
I did that to my kids occasionally. It's like, your mom and I are just figuring it out. Just you be quiet.
Yeah. And so we become adults and we don't know who we are. Mm-hmm. Because we had to listen to other voices tell us who we are. So where do I start with my clients? I said, well, who are you for you? Not who someone told you should be, not someone not what your family says, not what society says, but how do you define you? And when I tell you, a lot of people get stuck there because they've never asked themselves that question before. We've not been taught to say, well, who am I for me? Not who my dad said I was or who my mom said I was. I tell a story in my book about when it was time for me to choose the college. That was the first time I really felt like I found my voice, because I had to tell my family and my guidance counselors and my teachers that I didn't want to go to a certain school that everyone thought I was going to go to. Because this is what everybody expected. Oh, surely you're going to this school. And it took me a while to try to say, no, I don't want to go. This is my life. That's not a good fit for me. But a lot of times we don't have the courage to say, this is who I am for me. This is what's going to work for me. This is what success looks like for me. Without contending with all these different voices that's coming from us from so many different directions. So where do I start? I start with, who are you for you?
Oh, that's awesome. I like that. And I'll probably use that in the show notes as the question, who are you for you? Because people don't ask that. When you said it and when you asked it, I was doing some self-introspection going, now, have I done that? In a lot of ways I have, because I've done so much personal development and I know who I am. I'm very comfortable with who I am. Right. But I know a lot of people that are not, that they have, I accept my good, my bad, my ugly. I've had to, right. And I accept who I am. I know who I am, and that allows me to work forward. But so many people on here, if you're listening to this, who are you for you? Yeah. You have to sit down, and you can't just throw a flippant answer out. You have to actually figure it out.
And so a lot of the women that I work with are, I call them mature, but a lot of them have been in careers and have done well. Department heads, chair people, attorneys, PhDs, and they come to a point in their life where like, oh, wait a minute, I don't want to do this anymore. And for a lot of them, it was like, I never really wanted to do it in the first place. I did it because this is what I was told to do. This is what people expected me to do. One of my first clients, she's an attorney, and she worked at a very prestigious law firm in Washington, D.C. And she said, well, I have a secret. I say, what is it? She's like, I don't want to be an attorney anymore. But how do I tell my husband? How do I tell my family that this doesn't work for me anymore? And so I said, well, what is it you want to do? She's like, I want to open a restaurant. I said, okay, let's figure out how to do it. But again, she said it secretly because we're not taught to have power in our own voice, to say, well, what do you want your life to look like? I know everyone thought that, you thought being an attorney was great, and it might have been for a while, but deep down inside, that's not really what you wanted to do in the first place. Yeah. And so a lot of the women that come into me now, and like I said, and some men, but mainly women, they're saying, I've had this great career, I've had this great family life, but I'm not fulfilled. I'm not happy. This isn't it for me. And even with some people, I think I've come to this result in my life now. Well, I was great at being a speech pathologist, loved doing it. But because I'm like, who am I now? It's like, I don't want to do that anymore. I'm transitioning out of it because I'm finding a new purpose. I'm finding a new thing that's more fulfilling for me. And that's helping women to find their voices. But in the beginning, I was like, oh, I can't do that. I have to keep doing this thing that I went to school for. I have to keep doing this thing. But I was like, no, I'm giving myself permission to redefine who I am for me.
And you have to take those steps in life. If you don't, you end up unhappy and full of regrets at the end of your life. I totally understand you because I'm going through my own transition. I've been in the Air Force. This week will be 25 years in the Air Force.
Wow, congratulations.
And thank you. And I have loved my time in the Air Force. I've loved it. When you love what you do, it's not really work. And I have enjoyed it. Within the last year, I know it's time. I know it's time to transition. It's like, while I enjoy what I do, the heart isn't there that was always there. My heart is now on flying. I want to get back into flying and go into the airlines or business jet flying, which I'm working on. And my heart is in helping people, which is why I do the podcast, why I do my coaching business. I'm going through that transition. So I know exactly what you're feeling. Something that you've loved and done for 20 plus years, suddenly just doesn't have the draw to you that it had. And so you're going this way. And I think it's really hard for some people to make that change. So they end up working at a job that they hate for 40 years, doing something because it's expected of them, or because they just don't know what they really want. And so they just settle. I hate to use the word, but a lot of people, I'd say probably 60 to 70% of people, and these are just statistics I'm pulling out of thin air. It's not any scientific data here, but I would say probably 60 to 70% of people work in a job that they don't like, and they just settle because they want to put food on the plate.
I actually read a statistic. It's actually higher than that. It's about 80%.
I didn't want to guess too high, so.
Yeah, so the last stat I read, it was about 80%.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? 80%. 80%.
I can, because I see it in the people around me.
That's so true. As I'm going to my office, I'm just like, I just see people like Zooming, and man, I'm like, calm down. It's like, but I'm like, you're rushing to go to a place that you hate. How sad is that? You spend most of your time at a place that does not fill you up, does not bring you joy. I feel like when I go into my office, I'm going to play, because I do play. We have a great time. And so, but even when I'm working with my female clients, we still play. We have a great time. It's very fun, and jovial, and let's have it's all about let's have a good time. Let's figure out what's going to make you happy. And so it is very sad that so many people have not been able to find what really fills them up and lights them up every day. So we're on a mission to change that narrative for people. And so, but one of my friends helped me to see that. She said, what you're doing with the kids is no different than what you're doing with women. I was like, she said, you're still helping people to find their voices. You're still helping people to live their expression, because one of the things I pride myself on with working with my young children is that I don't care how you sound. I don't care if you can't get your R's out. I don't care if you stutter. You have a right to be heard.
Oh, yeah.
You have a right to be heard. But so many people don't get that message. And so one of the things I love about what I do is when my parents can say, hey, my kid really loves coming to you. They look forward to coming to you because I allow them to be themselves. I allow them to show up as who they are. If you say it correctly, great. If you don't, it doesn't matter. You are still valuable and precious. And so we don't always get that messaging that who you are is enough. The good, the bad, the ugly. It's enough. It's enough. And so that is the message that I just want to convey to people, that who you are is enough. And you're amazing.
One of the main things that I teach goes exactly along with what you're doing. And that is that in order to move forward and design the life that you desire, because Todd talks design your best life, in order to design the life you desire, you have to accept who you are and who you've been. Not to try to hide things under a rug, not to try to go and delve deep into everything, but you have to accept the past for what it is so that you can let it go and move forward to a new future, not chained down by the weight of the past.
My newest thing for me when it comes to the past is, what's the lesson? I was like, did you get the lesson? What's the lesson, Denise? What did you learn from that? I do a talk every Thursday on Facebook. And the one I did last week was about graduating, how, this is graduation time, people are graduating, but I worked in schools where everybody should not have graduated. They didn't get the lesson, but they social promoted. Okay. But life doesn't work that way.
Mississippi did away with graduation exams to increase the numbers of graduates. Yeah, I get you.
And so people get a false sense of what life is about. Life does not just graduate you. You got to pass the test. You got to learn the lesson and pass the test, right? So that you can move forward. But I looked at my life and there were several things that were like, I've been here before. Like, wait a minute, this looks familiar. I dated you before, didn't I? So, like, you just have a mustache this time. So it's like, I had to get the lesson.
Yeah.
I had to get the lesson. And so when I look back on the things, my past or whatever, my mistakes, and I was like, what was the lesson that I needed to learn from that? That's going to help me to be better. That's going to propel me into a better future than I had in the past. And so I teach people, no, when you look in the past, don't beat yourself up about it. But what was the lesson? What did you need to take from that? That's going to propel you moving forward. That was that was supposed to be the emphasis for school. You got this problem wrong. My teacher will go back and look at it and see, where did you get it wrong? So when you get this test again, you don't make the same mistake. And so I'm really big on being reflective. Like, take a minute to step back and see what happened. See what was the lesson. What could you do differently? So when you're faced with that situation again, you're better prepared for it.
Yeah, I agree. I actually just did a lesson last night, which I'm gonna post it. I did it in a networking group that I'm in, Lions Not Sheep. But I'm gonna take the video I made and post it on Facebook. You just gave me that idea to do, because that was exactly one that it was about overcoming fear, using your past and using your past experiences to learn the lesson, so that when a future experience comes, rather than being afraid of it, you can use the lessons to go, okay, I know what could happen, and here's how I'm going to do things differently, so that you don't have to be afraid of things. And so
that you can be empowered, and
own your voice.
And own your voice.
Own your amazing.
Own your amazing. I think my biggest teachers are the young children that I work with on a regular basis. I always tell the parents, my job is to empower them to live their best life, right? And so I purposely position things in my office that may be hard for them to reach, that may be difficult for them to open, right? And so in the beginning, I may assist them, but there are some kids, like this toy box, they have to open, they have to clean up after themselves. And so in the beginning, a few of them, they may whine and cry, like, I was like, I'll show you how to do it. I'm going to assist you how to do it, but you're going to have to learn how to do this yourself. I want to empower you to do it. And I tell you, it's been so much joy to watch and see them evolve and get more independent and to be more confident, right? We're talking about confidence. How do you build that? You help people to understand I am competent and capable. You may need support in the beginning, but my goal is to make sure you're independent and that you can stand on your own two little feet, right? And so just last week, a little guy, he was having problems with closing the box back up, and he was trying with it, and he just kind of looked back at me, and I was like, you got it. You can do it. And so he turned back around, he struggled with it, and he finally got it. And to see the confidence and the joy on his face, like, yeah. And it was just a toy box, but imagine how that built his confidence to go out and say, now what else can I accomplish? Even if it gets hard, I know I have the capacity to figure it out and get it done.
Yeah, we as parents quite often do too much for our kids. Helicopter parenting. I know my wife and I did. a couple of our kids were really independent and confident in doing things, and a couple others, we did too much for them. And so it was when they were teenagers and young adults that now we're like, okay, you need to call the bank yourself. I'm not calling the bank for you to figure out this thing. But no, you figure it out. And then they're so much happier because they know how to do it afterwards. And I think that's one of the challenges as a parent, is to let your kids struggle.
Yes. I'm constantly having that conversation with my parents. Like, he can't put his coat on. Yes, he can. We can show him a few times, but I'll show you how to zip it, but I'm not going to zip your coat every time. And I told the parents, especially, my 3 and 4-year-olds, eventually they're going to be in school. You're not going to be there to zip their coat. What are they going to do then? And so I'm always preparing my 3 and 4-year-olds, like, you're getting ready to go to the big school. So I need for you to be independent. But I tell you, I talk more to the parents than I do the kids. The kids are ready, like, let me do it. It's the parents I have to say, no, don't do that. Stop, wait, give them a chance, those kind of things. Because I want them to grow up to be very independent kids.
Do you think it's because parents, and this can relate to other things, but parents
Sure.
get impatient with others? Because they want to move along. They want to get out the door. They want to do this. And I've seen it in the work environment with bosses just telling them how to do it because they're impatient. They want it done now. They're on the deadline. And so they just tell them how to do it rather than letting them figure it out.
I think you're right across the board. But I think it stems from, we are living in this fast-paced society. We got to get it done. And it's like, no, we don't. I don't think we take the time to really prioritize what's important and take the time to slow down. And I tell the parents, well, build in more time. If you know your kid's going to take 5 minutes to put their shoes on, then build the 5 minutes to put their shoes on. Don't have them rushing out the door, because now you're frazzled, they're upset, all of that. And so one of the first things I do before I start my session, I just have the kid to come in and sit down and just breathe. Just breathe a minute. Just breathe. We just sit there for a minute. And I'll do a check-in. How are you today? Are you okay? Are you ready? And I said, well, let me know when you're ready. Sometimes I would say, let me know when you're ready, because I don't want to rush them. I want to give them the space to say, well, and some of the kids be like, I'm not ready. I was like, okay, let me know when you're ready. And so we have to create that space and time for kids, for adults, for all of us to be like, sometimes I have to tell my family member, I'm not ready. Give me a minute. Because
my wife used to have to take mommy time. I'm taking a mommy time out. And, I think it's important. I did a post about self-care earlier today.
I was about to say that.
Because self-care, if we're not taking care of ourselves, we're not going to be good to those around us. We're going to be rushed. We're going to be frazzled. We're going to be anxious. We're going to be angry. We're going to be strict. When we take time for ourselves, then we are so much better prepared to deal with and help those around us. Lately, the last few months especially, I've really started developing a solid morning routine of meditation and thoughtfulness in the morning, which start the day out in such a different way than just feeling rushed, trying to get to work and doing this and that, yelling at the dogs. No, taking that time to just meditate and relax my brain, not sleep, but meditate. It actually helps me to deal, and I've always been a fun-loving guy, but it helps me to be chill throughout the day, regardless of what happens.
Absolutely. I say self-care is the best care. Unless we're taking care of ourselves, it's very difficult to take care of other people. And so I have a great morning routine and a night routine. I deal with a lot during my day. I take on a lot of emotions and energy from people throughout my day. And so I've had to learn how to really decompress and really kind of get quiet so that I can be prepared to do it all over again the next day. But there were times in my life where I didn't do that and I got burned out. And I tell people, we're no good if we burned out. We can't really serve to the capacity that we want to serve at, you know? And I always say I do myself and my clients a disservice when I don't show up fully me, because I can't really serve the best way I can. But it comes from me having a morning routine. I lay in the bed, I say my prayer, you know, I do my meditation, I'll do yoga, whatever it is to kind of center me, or I may listen to some fun music, whatever it may be. But at night, I'm also preparing my bed. You know, I have my lavender, but I have to do that if I want to get up the next day and serve at a full capacity, because I've seen when I didn't do that, the results of that. Again, I'm impatient, you know, I'm short, you know, I'm sarcastic, you know, all those things, you know, and it doesn't serve anyone. It doesn't serve me or whomever I'm trying to serve for me to be like that. And I wish people would take more time to understand you don't have to rush, you don't have to be impatient, but it comes from you really just taking care of yourself. And we're at a critical junction right now in the world and society where mental health is critical. We have got to attend to our mental health. I mean, it's just, I can't say that enough. And self-care is part of that. Stepping back, being reflective, having our mommy time, our daddy time, or whatever time it may. Our kids need their time away too, you know. They need their downtime. And so we just really need to start really taking more care of our mental health so that we can be better at what we're being called to do.
I think you hit one of the nails on the head with the mental health. I've done a lot of episodes with a psychotherapist friend of mine, and mental health, it's still anathema in a lot of different places. And it's a stigma that people don't want to say, you know, hey, I'm depressed, I'm anxious, so people don't open up about it. But it's also one of those things that you can serve yourself quite easily with your mental health by getting that mental downtime, getting a space of peace. That's why meditation is so good, because most people, what do? They're on their screen watching TV or whatever up until the moment they finally are exhausted and go to bed. They don't give their brain a chance to decompress before they go to bed. And so they wake up the next morning, they don't sleep well, they wake up anxious, tired, frustrated, and they've already started the day wrong. So taking time in the evening and in the morning, like I liked what you said about you having morning and an evening routine. In the morning to center yourself, in the evening to decompress. So important. I think it would benefit the mental health of a lot of people just to take those two simple steps. Because mental health, I would say a lot of the mental issues that we deal with, the mental health issues, are only issues because of an overextended mind or an overstimulated mind.
I have a good friend who is a counselor, mental health counselor, professional. And she said, you know, when you see people having breakdowns in their mental health, she said, they've reached their capacity, that they did not empty out. You know how you feel like a gallon of water, a jug, and it overflows because it's reached its capacity. And we've seen a lot of people overflowing, spilling.
Oh yeah.
You know, spilling out on everyone else. You know, you see a lot of outbursts, a lot of just anger and all this. That's because they've reached their capacity. They haven't taken the time to empty out, to get quiet.
And they haven't for years.
Because again, we're not really taught to do that. No. We haven't been taught to take a breather, to step back, to take and kind of chill out. But we're always on that. We send the results of that. A lot of people are just not coping well with life and life stresses, you know, from children to adults. I see it every day, and young children to adults. And I tell the parents, I always tell my parents, your kids will be okay if you're okay. But they are a reflection of you. I have a funny, I tell the parents, I know what's going on in your house. I can look at your kid. You don't have to tell me what's going on. Yeah, I can look at your kid. They tell me everything. They're a reflection of you. And so I was like, if you calm down, they'll calm down. If you chill out, they will chill out. And so it's just we all just need to take more stock in our mental health and taking care of ourselves and making sure that we are resting, we're reflecting, we're being restored, taking time off to just be still and quiet. We all need that.
I think that's probably the best lesson from this episode is that we all need time to chill out and give ourselves a mental break.
Yeah.
And we originally thought we would talk about confidence, right?
Right.
But the way I love about this program is that the conversation goes where it needs to go.
Yeah.
And I think the lesson that people need to learn today from our conversation is that, and I wrote down some notes, who are you for you? You need to know yourself. Not what everybody else sees of you, but who do you see yourself as? Yeah. We need to take time to slow down, build in the time to slow down so that we're not always running ragged and anxious. And we need to learn how to decompress and get quiet for our mental health, because so many of us are living at full capacity of our mental health. And so it's spilling over onto everybody else. So taking that time to decompress at night, to center ourselves in the morning. This has been a great talk.
I enjoyed it too.
Thank you so much for being on here. Now, how can somebody reach you? I know you have a book, and so this is your opportunity to sell yourself. Tell where they can reach you, what they can, how you can help them.
Absolutely. So I always say start with my website, which is ownyouramazingnnow.com. Again, ownyouramazingnnow.com. And on there, you can get a free excerpt from my book. The book is called Own Your Amazing: Discover the Power to Create an Amazing Life You Love. So you can get a free excerpt from the book on my website. You can follow me on social media. I'm on Dr. Denise Own Your Amazing on Facebook. Instagram, I'm at Dr. Denise Moore. But I tell people to start with the website, again, ownyouramazingnnow.com. But follow me on Facebook. That's where I really hang out. I let you know about different programs that are coming up. I'm on there weekly, just doing a little, it's called Think About It Thursday. I come on every Thursday at 8 a.m. Just for about 5 or 10 minutes, just to give people something to think about. Again, it's all about being reflective, taking a moment to think. And so many people have told me that that's when they really just take a minute to think, when they come and listen to my message for the week. And I said, that's wonderful, because for a lot of people, they don't stop and think at all. You just go. But Think About It Thursday is just a few minutes to think about my life. What am I doing? How am I moving in the world? What do I need to focus on that's going to help me be better? And so I invite people to join that. They can always go on on my Facebook page and get, past episodes. But I really encourage people to just stop and think for a moment about how you're living your life. Are you creating a life you love? Are you truly owning your amazing? And I hope so.
Well, thank you so much. Today, my friends, we had Dr. Denise Moore Revel on with us, and we had a great discussion. I appreciate you coming on the show. She told you how you can reach her on Facebook and at her website, ownyouramazingnnow.com. Todd Talks are here to help you design your best life. Todd Talks are available on Apple, Spotify, everywhere you listen to podcasts. If you like what you hear, subscribe, share it with a friend. Maybe somebody that needs to hear about what we talked about today. So, and as I always say, have a blessed day.